Hi, my name is Muete. I'm the first sanctuary of the 144,000. You have 144,000 sanctuaries, and every sanctuary has a high priest. That is 2 individuals counted as one soul, like Adam and Eve.
Questions and answers. The partial resurrection. It has been said that the resurrected saints rise during the time of Jacob's trouble, and therefore should be counted with the 144,000 because they experience Jacob's trouble. Let us take a closer inspection of the closing scenes. Let's go to Great Controversy, chapter 40, God's people delivered, to see exactly when the resurrected saints rise. When the protection of human laws shall be withdrawn from those who honor the law of God, there will be in different lands a simultaneous movement for their destruction. As the time appointed in the decree draws near, the people will conspire to root out the hated sect. It will be determined to strike in one night a decisive blow, which shall utterly silence the voice of dissent and reproof. The people of God, some in prison cells, some hidden in solitary retreats in the forests and in the mountains, still plead for divine protection, while in every quarter companies of armed men, urged on by hosts of evil angels, are preparing for the work of death. It is now, in the hour of utmost extremity, that the God of Israel will interpose for the deliverance of his chosen. Saith the Lord, Ye shall have a song as in the midnight, when a holy solemnity is kept, and gladness of heart, as when one goeth to come into the mountain of Jehovah, to the mighty one of Israel. And the Lord shall cause his glorious voice to be heard, and shall show the lightening down of his arm, with the indignation of his anger, and with the flame of a devouring fire, with scattering and tempest and hailstones, with shouts of joy, with shouts of triumph, jeering and imprecation. Throngs of evil men are about to rush upon their prey, when, lo, a dense blackness, deeper than the darkness of the night, falls upon the earth. Then a rainbow, shining with the glory from the throne of God, spans the heavens and seems to encircle each praying company. The angry multitudes are suddenly arrested. Their mocking cries die away. The objects of their murderous rage are forgotten. With fearful forebodings, they gaze upon the symbol of God's covenant, and long to be shielded from its overpowering brightness. By the people of God, a voice, clear and melodious, is heard, saying, Look up. And lifting their eyes to the heavens, they behold the bow of promise. The black, angry clouds that covered the firmament are now parted, and like Stephen, they look up steadfastly into heaven, and see the glory of God, and the Son of Man seated upon his throne. In his divine form they discern the marks of his humiliation, and from his lips they hear the request presented before his Father and the holy angels. I will that they also whom thou hast given me be with me where I am. Again a voice, musical and triumphant is heard, saying, "They come, they come, holy, harmless, and undefiled. They have kept the word of my patience. They shall walk among the angels." And the pale, quivering lips of those who have held fast their faith utter a shout of victory. It is at midnight that God manifests his power for the deliverance of his people. The sun appears, shining in its strength. Signs and wonders follow in quick succession. The wicked look with terror and amazement upon the scene, while the righteous behold with solemn joy the tokens of their deliverance. Everything in nature seems turned out of its course. The streams cease to flow. Dark, heavy clouds come up and clash against each other. In the midst of the angry heavens is one clear space of indescribable glory, whence comes the voice of God like the sound of many waters, saying, "It is done." That voice shakes the heavens and the earth. There is a mighty earthquake, such as was not since men were upon the earth. So mighty an earthquake and so great. The firmament appears to open and shut. The glory from the throne of God seems flashing through. The mountains shake like a reed in the wind, and the ragged rocks are scattered on every side. There is a roar as of a coming tempest. The sea is lashed into fury. There is heard the shriek of the hurricane, like the voice of demons upon a mission of destruction. The whole earth heaves and swells like the waves of the sea. Its surface is breaking up. Its very foundations seem to be giving way. Mountain chains are sinking. Inhabited islands disappear. The seaports that have become like Sodom for wickedness are swallowed up by the angry waters. Babylon the Great has come in remembrance before God, to give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. Great hailstones, every one about the weight of a talent, are doing their work of destruction. The proudest cities of the earth are laid low. The lordly palaces upon which the world's great men have lavished their wealth in order to glorify themselves are crumbling to ruin before their eyes. Prison walls are rent asunder, and God's people who have been held in bondage for their faith are set free. Graves are opened, and many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. All who have died in the faith of the third angel's message come forth from the tomb glorified to hear God's covenant of peace with those who have kept his law. They also which pierced him, those that mocked and derided Christ's dying agonies, and the most violent opposers of his truth and his people, are raised to behold him in his glory and to see the honor placed upon the loyal and obedient. So, here we can see that the partial resurrection, those graves are opened, and many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. All who have died in the faith of the third angel's message come forth from the tomb, glorified to hear God's covenant of peace with those who have kept his law. they also which have pierced him. And those that mocked and derided Christ's dying agonies, and the most violent opposers of his truth and his people, are raised to behold him in his glory. So this passage, this portion happens after the people of God who were in the Jacob's trouble are set free. So we can see the procession of the things that are happening. Chapter 40, in the great controversy, is God's people delivered. Chapter 39, the chapter before this, is Jacob's trouble. So we can see that the saints who actually go through Jacob's trouble are indeed set free before the partial resurrection happens. Those who wake up in the partial resurrection, those who died under the third angel's message, do not experience any part of the Jacob's trouble. They do indeed wake up during the seventh and the last plague, which is the voice of God saying it is done, and there is earthquakes happening. But they don't actually experience the Jacob's trouble. The reason why they wake up is because they are given a promise to hear the covenant of peace that God is to make with those who have kept his law. So to keep the law of God, in fact, means to reach a sinless state. For those who honored the law of God, the standard for those who honored the law of God is to keep the 10 Commandments in full. But for those who keep the law of God, they are required to keep the 10 Commandments, and in addition to keeping the 10 Commandments, they are also required to complete all the laws of nature. This is how they reach a sinless state. So these are two different standards. There are two different groups, and it is the promise of those who have died in faith of the third angel's message to rise and hear the covenant of peace. So the covenant of peace is like the wedding vows that Christ is going to make with his bride, which is the 144,000.
Still have questions? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe.